1 p.m. Central, so time for us to get started. I'm still seeing some people kind of trickle in, but we will kick things off with some housekeeping items. Hello and welcome. My name is Haley Iaquelli, and I will be your host for today's webinar titled Unlocking the Digital Toolkit for Embedded Fintech. Before we begin, we're just going to discuss a few housekeeping items. First of all participants will be muted during the presentation. We will leave some time for questions at the end. So if you have questions, please submit them using the Q&A button. We will not be monitoring or responding through to the chat box. We are recording today's webinar, and you will receive a copy of that via email. Make sure you record that. Please ensure that you haven't unsubscribed from Jack Henry's marketing updates. Your panelists today are Jason Cain, Alex Carriles, Jaime Lopez Jr., and Pete Glyman serving as moderator. So I will just introduce all of our panelists. Jason Cain is the Chief Information Officer at OMNI Community Credit Union. He is a dynamic, highly technical, hands-on leader with a wealth of knowledge and experience implementing new technologies to drive operational efficiency across the organization. He works with smart, creative individuals to construct and introduce new systems and tools that drive digital transformation. Jason is active in supporting causes like the Haven of Rest Ministries and Charitable Union. Alex Carriles is the Chief Digital Officer and Executive Vice President of Simmons Bank. He has led the very successful launch of the bank's new mobile and online banking platforms, a new digital account origination platform, and the development of enhanced digital functionality and controls built by in-house development teams. He is a passionate advocate for delivering an extraordinary user experience through digital technology and frequently speaks about this topic at domestic and international banking conferences. Jaime Lopez Jr. is a developer advocate for Jack Henry Digital, working on open banking application programming interfaces. Prior to becoming an advocate, he led multiple software development teams. Jaime is also the co-host of the More Than Just Code podcast. Pete Glyman is the managing director of Jack Henry Digital and helps advance and deliver the best digital platform to Jack Henry customers. He is a steadfast proponent of modern technology in digital banking, open banking principles, and the value of data to impact the financial services industry in a positive way. He is an active board member with the Association for Financial Technology. So without any further ado, I will turn this over to Pete to get things started.
All right. Thanks, Haley. Appreciate the intro. And thank you, Jason and Alex, for joining us today for this webinar. I think there's a lot to take away, and I appreciate all of our attendees for joining today. I think you're going to find it very worthwhile. Just quick introduction. My name is Peter Glyman. I've been with Jack Henry for a couple of years now. I was one of the co-founders of Gzio, who some of you may know, personal financial management company, working with banks and credit unions. We had a long-time partnership with Jack Henry until they acquired us back in 2019. Since then, I've been working with the digital strategy team on some of our open banking initiatives, promoting and kind of paving the way for fintechs to start using Banno's toolkit to integrate their products and services more easily. It's kind of fun being on this side of things. Back in the Gzio days, one of our biggest challenges was integrations into online banking platforms and core systems, and almost to a point to where it was competitive if you had the integration, because you achieved something that was very, very difficult to do. And so you would go and you get a bank or a credit union very excited about your product, and then it was like, okay, now go integrate into our online banking and mobile banking system and tap the brakes and see what we can do to make it happen. So to be on the other side now, where we've got this wonderful open environment for fintechs to integrate their products into, so that clients like Simmons and OMNI can integrate them more easily. It's a fun place to be. It's nice to be able to say yes. And I sure wish I had these resources available to me back in the day when we were doing our implementations. That would have made things much easier. So excited to share a little bit more about that today. We'll be talking about the toolkit, but I think more importantly, we're going to be hearing, from Jason and Alex about their journey and story in using the toolkit and some of Jack Henry's other open architecture products, and how they were able to create something unique and special for their financial institutions. Also joining with me today is Jaime Lopez, who heads up our DevRel team. Jaime will be jumping in to share a little bit more from his view from the couch, being closer and working with the developers, the technologists. Has a little more clear path as to where we're going specifically with the toolkit, and we'll be able to answer some questions and participate as well. So we're hoping that with the webinar today, you learn a little more about the toolkit. You get inspired by some of the stories from some of our clients and what they're doing. Learn a little bit more about maybe navigating resources and what might be needed within your financial institution or outside your financial institution to do a custom project or work with a third-party fintech. And so I think expect some of those takeaways. We're excited to share with you today. So that's kind of what our expectations. Jaime, if you wouldn't mind, I wouldn't mind just tapping you real quick. Maybe you could share a little bit more about the toolkit. What you're seeing, where we're going with it. Set that up a little bit. That'd be a great way to kick things off. So, Jaime.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. So there's sort of a philosophy and a mechanics behind the toolkit. So philosophically, it's about empowering financial institutions to bring the best of fintech directly to your customers' fingertips. Mechanically, it's delivered via our open API, and it's really worth pointing out that this is the same API that Jack Henry itself uses. So that's like one of the key things to really think about. And there's also some things to talk about when it comes to open banking and embedded fintech, because there's I think some misconceptions or myths out there that we might want to really quickly get to as part of the next part of the conversation.
Yeah, why don't you expand on that, Jaime, a little bit? Because I know open banking, embedded fintech, embedded finance, APIs. This gets thrown around a lot, and I think there's rightfully so. It can get confusing, and I think having a little structure around what some of this terminology means and the impact for our clients, maybe a little bit of clarity would be helpful if you could expand on that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of really great definitions you can go find out there on the web as to what open banking is, open finance, embedded fintech, and et cetera. I think one of the ways that I like to personally think about it is that really what it's about is the secure exchange of financial data for the customer's benefit, right? So that's sort of the in a nutshell definition that I like to think about. And when we talk about the myths, pretty common ones that we've tended to hear out in the industry is like, well, this is a big security risk, or I'm going to lose control of the user experience. And I think one of the other concerns, given the environment, is customers will leave because I've made it easier for them to do so, right? Like those, just to be really clear, are things that we believe very strongly and have evidence for. Like those are myths, because actually winding those back, when you have modern battle-tested technology standards like OAuth and OpenID Connect, that's a lot safer than screen scraping, right? So security is, addressed there. We talked about bringing the best of the fintech world directly to your customers' fingertips in an experience they already know and love. You have control of that customer and user experience. And with customer experience as a priority, well, we've really addressed the concern there about losing accounts to the mega banks and the big techs.
Yeah, for sure. I think, gone are the days of holding all the keys. It's and there's value in freeing that information for your customers and your members. I think resisting that change is only going to push them away and send them to some other service that gives them those types of controls. So, specific on the open banking side in terms of data sharing, more specific to the embedded fintech side of things, I think we'll be spending a little more time on that today, and also how using things like the toolkit allows you as a financial institution to be creative and build new things that are unique to your own ideas. So I think that's a really exciting place to be. I've always heard out in the market is, you don't want everything you do to look like the FI down the street, but you still need to leverage some standard technologies to get you out the door with the resources that you have. So in my opinion, the next best thing is giving you the capabilities to expand on it, customize a little bit, create experiences that are unique and specific to your financial institution, your market. So with that, Alex, we're going to pick on you first here today to share your story. Thank you again for joining today and being willing to share some of your experiences in working with Jack Henry, our toolkit. So with that, I'm gonna hand things over to Alex. Alex, if you don't mind, maybe just a quick introduction yourself, and we'll let you take it from here. Thank you.
Sure, Pete. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Pleasure being with you today. And well, my name is Alex Carriles. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Simmons Bank. We are a $25 billion bank, $25 billion in assets. We're headquartered in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Our headquarters are in Little Rock, and we operate in 6 states currently: Arkansas, Kansas, Texas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. And before joining Simmons Bank about 2.5 years ago, used to work at an international financial institution, BBVA. And it was interesting because I came from an environment where basically the mentality was to build everything. We would almost joke saying that our motto was, why buy it if you can build it yourself? So going now to an environment where pretty much we were buying everything already built, prepackaged, it was a very different experience. And quite honestly, I didn't know exactly how much flexibility I was going to be able to have to truly deliver what I wanted to deliver to our customers. And that's why it was really refreshing to discover the multiple ways we could use APIs and open standards to connect through some solutions that we could build in-house or acquire from third parties, but at the same time integrate them into our digital channels. I mean, and throughout this experience, I at least can recognize 3 levels of integration from, let's say, more detached from the digital channels to very close to the digital channels. First, integration via APIs talking to external independent applications. I'm going to give an example. We had created an eligibility algorithm for mobile deposit. So we wanted to score every customer to see if they were eligible or not, and what should be their limits. So yeah, we had all of that information, but we needed to feed all of that to RDA, which is our mobile deposit solution from Jack Henry that talks to Bano to show you the limits and control the limits when you're making the deposit, etc. So in order to do that, we developed an application using APIs from RDA to run this process every day and basically rescore everyone and keep our data fresh and as up to date as possible. That was like the first level of integration that we did. And we realized that it was an interesting way of interacting with Jack Henry. We took the next step, which was a bit more complex, which was developing our own middleware and our own APIs to basically interface with JExchange and talk to Banno. And I'm just going to put it in layman's terms to make it easier to understand what exactly is it that we did. Basically, Banno had in the user interface, they had the capability of displaying credit cards. Basically, what was your card number, what was your balance, minimum payment, and transactions. Our problem is that that functionality from Banno was talking to Jack Henry cards, and we used Thesis for our credit cards. So in order to do that, we had to basically serve as a service provider for those card operations to JExchange. So the way it goes is Banno says, hey, JExchange, give me the credit card transactions for this customer. And then JExchange asks, okay, who's supposed to give me this? It checks its configuration files. It's like, oh, Simmons is supposed to give me this. And our middleware is called T-Bone. Call it T-Bone because this is to Banno 1, but it's more fun to call it T-Bone. So, hey, T-Bone, give me the transactions for this Simmons customer. Then T-Bone goes and says, well, who has this data? Thesis. Hey, Thesis, give me the latest transactions for Alex's card. It comes back to T-Bone. T-Bone says, hey, JExchange, here are the transactions. JExchange then goes to Banno and says, hey, here are the transactions. And Banno shows those transactions on screen. Well, that whole choreography of events happens in basically under 1 second. We are all talking to each other with an open platform. And if we decided tomorrow to switch providers and instead of Thesis, we wanted to use a different solution for credit cards, we could just point our APIs to a different data repository and it will be transparent for the customer. And finally, the next level of integration will be creating a module right inside Banno. You can see on the screen how Banno works like in a tile format. You have like tiles for the different functionalities. Well, we can create our own tile, for example, for let's say we wanted to display your credit score. We can create one and we could work with a fintech that is able to provide us that service. And all we need to do is connect both with single sign-on, with OAuth, and then both the fintech and Banno will be able to talk to each other, deliver the content on screen. Once you tap on that tile, we'll be able to take you to a web view with the content and detailed content that we wanted to deliver, like, hey, this is your detailed credit score. Here is your things that you can do to improve your credit score, whatever. So that level of integration, I think, is fantastic because it allows us to deliver best-in-class functionality from fintechs that are going to be delivering things a lot faster than we can build in-house. So if we can find a solution in the market that works for us, we can select that, and with the toolkit integrated directly to our version of Banno. And so far, things have worked really well. And as a matter of fact, just yesterday I was reviewing my budget for next year. We're going to be growing significantly our number of developers because our management committee and the board are really happy with what we are delivering through Banno, and they want to see more of this.
Alex, that's fantastic. What an amazing success story. Before we get into your results, because I know you've got some performance results to share with us on these projects, I do think T-Bone should be an animated series that demonstrates API communication and handoff. I feel like T-Bone, Thesis, Banno, that's the makings for a really fun cartoon. One of the things you mentioned, I just want to point out to some of our attendees today, we talk about the toolkit, and certainly Banno is one of our more modern products at Jack Henry, and making the digital banking experience extendable and the ability to add new cards through the plugin framework is really important. But you mentioned using JExchange as well, and I don't want to skip past that. What we're doing with jackhenry.dev with the toolkit with Banno is really just the beginning. And if you start to look across the organization, you look at JExchange and SimExchange, PayCenter, there are APIs that we're publishing across the entire organization. And, we're starting to put a little bow on all of that and expand on .dev. But I just wanted to point out that, there are going to be some things, if you're working on a project where it might be, you might assume that it's very UI centric, but there's going to be some plumbing that will be needed through integration with JExchange or SimExchange to accomplish what you're looking to do. And the nice thing about that, as you saw, Alex, is they're all very accessible and straightforward to use. So anyway, back to these different projects that you all did, Alex, if you wouldn't mind just sharing some of the success metrics associated with these projects. I think everybody would enjoy seeing that.
Perfect. Well, yeah, one of the things is that our customers are really enjoying, for example, the functionality of having the cards integrated directly in Banno. Before we did that integration, they had to use one app to check their credit cards and another app to check their deposit accounts. To me, that was ridiculous. So we need to get everything together. Our customers were really happy about that. And after we launched that first version of the integration to deliver at least the information about your cards, then earlier this year, we worked on phase 2, which was, okay, so now that you can see your card, let's also deliver the functionality to pay your card. But let's go a step beyond. We developed a functionality where we can send the payment to our service provider, but at the same time do a real-time open to buy, which means if your card is at its limit, for example, and you are at the grocery store, you swipe your card, the card gets declined, you use the app, pay $200, swipe your card, the card will go through immediately. That's real-time open to buy. And that we were able to deliver that functionality in-house by leveraging the APIs. In the case of the mobile deposit project, we were able to increase our limits up to 20 times in some cases, going from $7,500 a month to $150,000 in a mobile deposit. And this basically had a trickle effect because we increased our volume by 6 times. And you would imagine that, well, if you're going to increase your limits by 20 times and the volume by 6 times, the losses are going to grow proportionally with fraud. Well, the reality is that we were able to reduce fraud by over 95%. I mean, it's literally just a couple of basis points of the total number of deposits is nearly 0. And the reason for that is that we are monitoring the accounts in real time, and we're able to update eligibility every day, and we update the limits every month. So at least the eligibility, if we see abnormal behavior, we're able to shut down access to mobile deposit right away. And that has helped us tremendously. We didn't have this integration to fully automate this. Before we did this project, we had 2 people full-time just assigning limits to customers. And there was always a backlog of 300 to 400 accounts pending to be updated. Right now, you open your account and you're scored immediately. And we basically were able to reassign those 2 associates to more productive things instead of just assigning limits.
That's fantastic. Wow, great stats, Alex. Really appreciate you sharing those numbers with us. I think some of the folks on the call that are thinking about working on custom projects, this might help them get the budget they need from the board to work on some of these things. So I'm sure they'll find some value in that. Alex, thank you very much. Great success story. Appreciate getting the details. Come back to you in a little bit. Jason, thanks for joining us today from OMNI Credit Union. Jason also has a success story in working with our platform, specifically on the account opening side. Jason, thanks for joining us today. Look forward to hearing what you all did there at OMNI.
All right, thanks, Peter. Great solution, Alex. I'm Jason Cain. I'm the Chief Information Officer here over at OMNI Community Credit Union. We're a $600 million credit union, and we serve the state of Michigan. So probably the less than the operating budget of of Alex. But what we were able to create, so we started with a rapid prototype approach. These technologies were new to us. We really wanted to get our hands on them, see what they could do, see how they could pipe into our existing infrastructure and how they function. So to test these technologies at the lowest cost possible, we were able to leverage our existing technology and borrow some of the founding code from our online account opening process. So what we were able to create was a self-service solution that gave our members the ability to open up a new checking account, order a debit card, protect their account with overdraft protection, and enable e-statements. It is an open design, so these are just the first products and services that they'll have access to. We plan on expanding this quite extensively to give these low-hanging fruit items that really tie up our team, the self-service capabilities to our members. So our stack is a little bit different, but also has a lot of similarity to Alex's. We leverage the Banno Auth API to be able to authenticate using OAuth. Once we authenticated, we were able to get back information like the member's account and the member's username. From there, we were able to use OMNI's middleware. We also have an API that then connects into SIM Exchange. Having that middleware also allows us to balance certain complexity of the application. We can offload things that can process that don't necessarily need to process in real time. We can offload them to a job and have them process in the background. Those could be items like updating your data warehouse for metrics, sending out marketing material following that, or scheduling any other type of job. So yeah, it goes from the Banno Auth, get the information, the account information, to the OMNI API, and then back to SIM Exchange, and then that just goes back and forth. We don't have a cool name like T-Bone, but we will definitely work on that. Future items that we're working on is we are also looking to bring some credit card and debit card controls into that environment, to be able to have our members be able to control more over those transactional products. We're looking to integrate our lending process too. So this could include the ability to sign documentation, to once the document's been approved, they could go in through some sort of push to be able to continue on with with their lending process. The flexibility and openness of this really gives us, like Alex had said, we can choose to build inside of this, we can choose to partner. It really opens that flexibility up to push to this environment.
Jason, how I remember chatting with you the other day. If you wouldn't mind sharing the time it took to get this out the door with your team.
Yeah, given we already had the a lot of the borrowing from the account opening process, it took us 3 to 4 days to completely have this ready and available to our members. Yeah, it was pretty. It's well-known technologies. Once you understand how to interact with APIs, it's a RESTful API. It's very easy to use, very user-friendly. The documentation on the site is very informational. If you do run into issues, Jaime and his team, they're on top of the support and really giving you the feedback and nurturing that you need to get up and running.
Awesome. Appreciate that feedback. If you don't mind, maybe share a little bit more about the success with this particular project, some of the metrics, some of the things that you learned.
All right, absolutely. So we haven't ran a marketing campaign yet. So these numbers are without any type of marketing. This is the member logging into the app, discovering this plugin and self-serving. So with that intuitive design, since we launched it in the beginning of August 2021, and since then we've had over 100 products and services that members have added to their accounts. This is out of a possible 4,000 members that are actually either signed up to internet banking, they qualify for a certain account type, and they don't have any adverse warning codes that would prevent them from having these products. 2% of these members added a checking account, 2% enabled e-statements, 1% ordered a debit card, and we've received really raving reviews from our members, giving us the flexibility to self-serve. It's really opened our eyes that, kind of the concept, if you build it, they will come. So opening this up, they've discovered it, they've self-served. We are going to launch our marketing program or our strategic marketing plan at the end of this month. So I'll definitely provide updated stats to Bano and their team.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. Well, 3 to 4 days of dev work with a product that is evergreen and continues to grow, generating 100 new products for the credit union. And I'm assuming products that, are helping improve the financial lives of those members is a big deal. So congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I'd like to shift gears a little bit and chat with both of you a little bit more about the work, the resources. One of the, I think this is probably an evolution, for our clients, is thinking about development resources. What are the open recs at your organization? Who should you be hiring? What kind of talent? Does it put more onus on, hiring technical talent within your organization, or not? So I think that it's an interesting conversation, and an area that I know FIs, clients of ours, are constantly thinking about in terms of the roadmap and planning. We have a quick poll that we'd like to put up, and as we get the conversation going, be interested for those attendees on the webinar today that are financial institutions. If you wouldn't mind participating in that poll, it'd be greatly appreciated. Just curious as to how you handle your development needs, in-house, outsourced, combination of both. So while that's happening, Alex, come back to you. If you wouldn't mind just sharing with us a little bit about your staffing model to support development implementation of these types of projects. Be interested in hearing from you.
Sure. Well, we have worked together with our IT department, and from the digital banking side, we have product owners. So we basically come up with things like the business requirements, user stories, test cases, etc. While our development team works, I mean, we're even physically in the same area, so we could actually work together. We do agile development and basically work every day, review what we're doing our stand-up meetings, etc. And although we're doing agile, it's not like a fully developed agile, but it's a really good combination because we have the IT development team that is fully dedicated to our area, to digital development. And also we work really close with Jack Henry resources to make sure that we're aligned, that we are doing things as expected. And sometimes we also integrate our third-party solution provider, like in the case of Thesis or Visa or others. So we really work as a single team, although we're different areas, but it's something that people are really excited about. I mean, it was something that hasn't been done before at Simmons, so it's very exciting, it's fun, and we have it's really a great morale booster once we launch something like this, and you get that sense of ownership and pride on what you did, you built with your team.
People like to build things that make people happy. So that's awesome. Jason, how about you? How are you guys handling development efforts? Oh, you're on mute, I think.
Thanks. We recently created a user experience team to oversee our innovation process. It involves the chief digital officer, marketing manager, digital retail manager, director of business intelligence, director of compliance, and the director of contact center. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I've implemented a ton of projects and ton of solutions. And being in a highly regulated environment and the ability to educate your team, the ability to educate your members and make sure that line of communication is open, these leaders need to be involved in that process, and they need to really be driving that process. So having them in the seat, have them be part of that process and leading it, we've seen a lot of great things thus far with that team. We have 2 developers on staff. We are currently onboarding an innovation platform to help manage the ideation process, the innovation process, the feedback. We're looking to incorporate the member's voice, the team member's voice into this process. So as you do digital transformation, that is an extremely important part. You need to really incorporate the people that you're serving into the solutions that you're creating, and have a way to have that agile development process where it's continuous improvement, continuous deployment, and really getting that feedback and understanding your priorities through some sort of democratic way where they're voting on it. So we're looking to have that solution really govern and lead that process.
That's great, Jason. Appreciate that. So I guess I'm curious how much of the work that you all do is independent of Jack Henry. So in terms of you've got documentation, you've got the resources. Is there a lot of hand-holding? Are you able to go fairly well down the path? I mean, you talked about Jaime's team being a wonderful resource. How often do you have to go to them? But just curious if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, in the beginning, it was probably a little bit more. I mean, they didn't have the dev site completely fleshed out at that moment when we first started. Okay. So in the beginning, it was a lot, but once you got familiar with the technologies, we were swimming. We really don't reach out that often. As far as here's kind of our forecast for how we're going to manage our development needs. If through this innovation platform, if we identify priority or solutions that have a higher priority, our dev team's already tied up, we will definitely look to seek to partner in developing. It's going to be a hybrid approach where it's, even when you start to choose whether you build or buy, it's not all one direction. It's what does the organization need? What problem are you going to solve? What's the most cost-effective way of solving that? And then coming up with a game plan to execute that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Two amazing success stories, in my opinion. Love hearing the stats too. You know, it's one thing to build something, and it's another to hear how it actually had an impact on the success of your bank and your credit union. So appreciate you letting us take a peek at some of those metrics. I think that's really powerful information. We'd like to open up the floor to Q&A and see if any of our attendees have any questions. Before we do that, though, we've got one more poll, and this is a little selfish. You know, in working with the toolkit and with Jaime, you know, one of the things that we spend a lot of time on is promoting the toolkit to third-party fintechs. You know, really, we're trying to get an ecosystem where if you're out there and you're a builder, you know, we would love for you to build into the Banno platform so that Jason, folks like yourself and Alex, you know, have easy access to some of these fintechs where you would want to embed their technology into Banno. So we're constantly looking at the market. You know, what are some of the trends with technologies that, you know, which ones are of higher priority versus the others. So another poll for our audience, would be interested in hearing from our financial institutions. If you're a fintech on this call, you're not allowed to click on your technology. You know, for those FIs out there, we'd love to learn more about what are some of the things you're thinking about over the next, you know, 12, 18 months in terms of tech that you would like to expand on, you know, in terms of product offerings to your users. So that'll get running there. And at this point, let's go ahead and I think we've got 15 minutes, so we're doing pretty good. See if we've got any questions from our attendees.
Yes. So the first one I'm going to give to Jason. David asked, did I hear that right? 3 to 4 days development time for the OMNI community CU solution.
Yes, that is correct. Again, it's dry, you know, don't repeat yourself. So we had a lot of code already created for our online account opening process because it automates the signing up for e-statements, overdraft protection, debit card, and checking. So we basically had to create an interface that adapted to the Banno infrastructure and experience, and we were off and running.
Yeah, just to add a little of what I've heard out of our conversations, Jason, with you and Alex, one of the things I love hearing is that what we're providing is meaning what we thought it would, that it could scale up or down. If you've got something small, you want to experiment, you want to iterate, you know, reuse existing assets, it can handle that. On the opposite end, if you're like, we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we're really looking to build larger project-wise, it can handle that as well. So I really appreciate your insight from, you know, the developer's perspective of what does it take to build using the Banno Digital Toolkit.
Awesome. For our next question, I think this will be a combination of Alex and Jason and probably Jaime. Lee asked, if we're starting from scratch with no T-Bone middleware and no experience in building this sort of thing, what would you recommend to get started?
I can take that one if you'd like. So I can even give you the technologies that we use. So There's Laravel Passport is what we're using for our middleware. It's a framework. It's a PHP framework through Laravel. What we're able to do there, I mean, you could create all your routes, whether they're web routes or API routes. You can secure them to least privilege. You can make it multi-tenant. There's a lot of flexibility there. So you can have one division, accessing a certain set of APIs in another division. You can have, your dev team using different access points. If you want to monitor from an analytics aspect, you can add thresholding to it. But with that, that's on its own infrastructure. So you want to protect that as if it were a public-facing web server. From there, you create your VLANs and you configure your network so your web host can only connect to Passport using these ports and these protocols, and then the same thing happens when you connect to your core. So you have keys through your tokenization that is protecting going from your web host to your API server, and then from your API server, a different set of tokens going to your core. And then the kind of same principle happens, but in the reverse side, when you're interacting with Banno. Tokenization, OAuth, they're connecting, whether you're consumer API, you're connecting into their API platform that is then connecting to your core. So it's a one big happy circle that ultimately goes to your core as your host provider.
Yeah, in our case, I mean, one thing that I can tell you is that it was almost funny that Jack Henry said, well, of all use cases, you had to start with the absolute most complex possible implementation that you can think of, and then we'll go with that one. Using a third-party service provider like this is doing the middleware that had to be high availability, and also for something that was directly related to a critical product like your credit card with immediate access to information. And on top of that, it had to be PCI compliant, so we couldn't even send the information directly to Banno. We had to create a tokenization solution to tokenize everything. So think of this almost like a capstone project. I mean, it was like, you're going to apply everything you ever wanted to know about integrating APIs with this one project. This would be it. I would not recommend starting the same way. It is fun, it's exciting, but it's a long path. We didn't do it in 3 days. It took approximately 8 to 9 months from beginning to end. But again, it was a relatively short time for the amount of work that was required. So one thing that you can do, the reality is that you don't need to build pretty much anything. I mean, if you want to leverage, for example, the digital toolkit, most things are configured within Banno. You have, for example, a third-party service provider. I mean, and this is a real case scenario that you want to work with a credit bureau. They have their APIs. They have the ability to pass the data from your customer to show their credit scores. Really, that project is something that could be done in a very, very short time, because all you need to do is take care of the OAuth, the passing of the tokens, but the reality is that most of that stuff, even your own team is not going to do it. You can work directly with the fintech that is going to be integrating through Banno for you, and they can work together to do that behind the scenes. You supervise what is the experience that you want to get out of that, and the process is relatively simple. The amount of actual development is minimal. And that's, I would say, the easiest way to start will be to think, okay, what is it that we're lacking right now in Banner? What we would like to add for our customers? I was looking the other day at some solutions to help students pay off their student loans quicker. We can integrate that, really simple, and with pretty much no development at all. I mean, one of our non-technical associates was able to integrate within the app using the toolkit, for example, our interactive demos that we developed for our customers to learn how to use Banno. She did that herself. I mean, she did the integration within Banno in basically a day and tested it, worked great. After that, we actually moved it somewhere else within the app, but she was able to get it done with very little technical knowledge, and it was really simple to do. So I would start with a simpler project and then grow from there.
That's great feedback. And real quickly for our attendees, for fintechs, if you're talking to a fintech about their product, point them to jackhenry.dev. We don't charge for it. They have access to it. They can build. We have a sandbox where they can go and start building their plugin for the product that they're looking to offer you. So really no barrier to entry there. I mean, it depends on the product. Some things require more plumbing than others, but it's a good place to start. And I think it's really important to know that we're going to open the door to those partners that you want to work with. And that's a really big shift, I think, in the industry. And it's one that I feel like we're leading the way on and really embracing. So if there's somebody you want to work with, send them this way. And another thing I want to just real quickly get out there while we got a few more questions coming in, we do have a exit survey at the end of the webinar. If you could please provide some feedback on that, we would love to hear any recommendations. We always want to make sure that these types of webinars are delivering the best content for you and making use of the time that you're offering us. So let's see, any other questions, Haley?
Yeah, I think we probably have time for one more from Daniel. What I've heard is how easy it is to integrate with Banno. I'm curious if someone would share what kind of project team size and time to market these examples represent. I think this would also be a good time to hear from Jaime about what kind of skills might be needed to work on toolset as well. So maybe we can start with the FIs and you guys can talk about your teams, and then Jaime can talk to us about like specific skills to look for if you do want to hire or evaluate a third party for helping you with this. Jason, you want to talk about your team first?
Sure. My team is, again, the user experience team. That's who I primarily work with. We do have a couple of developers on staff that is really dedicated. So for us, our perspective is we need dedicated data analytic professionals and developers. Because ultimately what we're looking to do is create actionable insights throughout that environment. And to be able to leverage that, you need for us, we needed somebody that's really competent in the analytics space, and we need competent developers to be able to present and take action on that data.
We have a couple of product owners. We have a development team of between 4 and 6 developers. Some of those were dedicated first to setting up the actual environment where we were going to be running our middleware, and then 2 or 3 actual developers to write to the APIs and do all of the integration. And as I mentioned, this was like the mother of all integration that we could think of. And in our case, took us 9 months. And I would say that nearly a third of that was almost like learning on the go what we were doing for this specific application, because I don't think anybody else had done something with a three-way integration like we did here. But for the other simpler projects, that the phase 2, for example, took way less than that. Once you know how to get it done the first time, it becomes way easier the second time around.
That's great to hear those real world perspectives from my team's perspective. What we think about is it kind of depends on your use case, but there are common things. So if you're looking to extend Banno's UI, as Alex and Jason talked about, the cards or tile-like metaphor, finding developers who know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, sort of the basic foundational pieces of the web, pretty common to find out there in the industry. There's tons of different tech stacks that handle that. You know, if you have a web application of some sort, odds are pretty good you have something that can work with that. If you're looking to access consumer data or manage the back office through our consumer and admin APIs, you need people who are well-versed, ideally in RESTful APIs that return JSON. Again, this should be fairly common here in the modern era. And if you're looking to cross-reference users, and as a foundational thing, if you're doing stuff with our authentication framework, as both these gentlemen had mentioned, you really want folks who have OAuth and OpenID Connect experience. That is really helpful. It is, those are tech industry standards. And our team is doing, you know, as best we can to explain those, because we know that not everybody has experience with those standards. And one of the things I'll leave off with here in my, you know, talking about the good work we're doing is like calling back to Jason's points, right? That like every day, me and my team, we look at jackhenry.dev and we say, that's good, but it could be better. So I hope that people have seen that and will continue to see that as we continue to iterate and publish more content.
Right on. Jaime, can you talk a little bit about the toolkit office hours that you're planning?
Yeah, so we're excited. We've got that coming up. So banno.com/events. We've got the wonderful link here on the slide, including other digital related meetups that you can visit that site and sign up for. The toolkit office hours are specifically around, you know, bringing your technical problems that you've run into. So ideally, you go look at the, you know, public available on the free open web at jackhenry.dev. Ideally, especially if you're a financial institution, you start trying things out, go through our tutorials, go through our quick starts. If you're a fintech, you know, as we mentioned, find a way to reach out. We can get you sandbox access and really, you know, come up with like, what are your real problems? Ideally, from my team standpoint, we want everything to be as self-service as possible. We know there are people in multiple time zones, and if you want to work at 3 in the morning in your time zone, you don't want to wait to hear an answer for us. So we're trying to make it like as easy to understand as possible. But we know that we can't cover every possible use case, and we can't think of every possible way that the developer community will use such a broad set of technologies. So the office hours are a good time to talk through things that aren't easily communicatable over email. You need a little bit of a richer, like, you know, help us understand what you're trying to do, and let's see how we can best help you.
Right on. Thanks, Jaime. And toolkit events, and then jackhenry.dev. You know, you'll see all of our open APIs and links to other services that are available and exposed through our APIs there. So definitely check that out. Our team's done an amazing job with that site. I hope you get a lot out of it. I think it does a great job of communicating the services and providing all the tools that you would need to build. And that's something that's really, really impressive. So Jason, Alex, thank you very much for your time today. This was an awesome webinar. Jaime, thank you for everything that you do and your contributions to this effort. Haley, thank you for putting this all together. Appreciate everybody's time. Haley, I'll hand it over to you to wrap things up. And again, everybody, don't forget to do that exit survey if you don't mind. So thank you very much.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. That was great. You can get any other information you might need from these resources, and we will email these to you as well when we send you this recording. And of course, feel free to reach out if you have other questions that aren't answered in any of these. And I think that's everything. Please take the exit survey. The marketing team thanks you. We use that to make these webinars better. So we appreciate everyone attending, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks,
I
everyone.
appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.